really believed that that was the beginning of the civil rights movement in this country. And I remember we would have entire congregations of white congregations that would come to our church and visit. They would all sit together, remember? They would all sit together, right? It would be like 6 or 7 rows of them sitting in our church, listening to my father preach. And he preached, you know, my daddy, he was a bona fide preacher. I mean, he could make the Pope shout. But, and these people would come every Sunday.
I am Ruth Esther Williams, the youngest daughter of the late, great Bishop D. Lawrence.Williams, my father, my friend, my hero. I used to do his manuscripts. I was his secretary. I did all of his typing. I did most of the suggestions of what I wanted him to preach. You know, so we talked about the centrality of Christ. I wanted to understand what the centrality of Christ was all about. And he's just the central theme in Christianity. You can't get away from the center, the centrality of Christ. Daddy met Martin Luther King. When Daddy was president of Hampton's Ministers Conference, there was a picture that somebody in the family stole from me, but he was either at the Hampton Ministers Conference. I know he came here for that particular year. And I saw him and my father talking together, or it could have been when he was in Memphis. But talking about being ecumenical and not just being ecumenical. He met a variety of people, and he became good friends. They stayed in touch with each other, and they didn't look down on him because he was a sanctified holiness preacher. He put holiness on the map.
My father was a mentor, teacher. He believed in training his children the way they should go. So he started us off studying, preparing messages. He introduced us to the Interpreter's Bible. He introduced us to commentaries, Bible dictionaries, and he would always have us prepare like a Christmas message, an Easter message. And sometimes we delivered them, sometimes we didn't. But part of the way he trained us was to be prepared to speak, and to speak well, to know what we were talking about, to be well informed, not just, you know, off the top of our head. And then, along with the older ministers, on like Easter Sundays, the sunrise service, he would let us preach. In the early morning, we had a 6 o'clock morning prayer, and many times in that service we were given the opportunity to speak. But those special Sundays like Easter, Christmas, Pentecost, we were given the opportunity to speak. Then we would have sometimes what they called in those days platform services, where you had several speakers who would speak on a topic or on a theme. And he usually made sure we were always involved in something like that. Along with the preaching, he made sure all of us had music lessons. We all took music, some type of music. David, myself, and Sam, the youngest of the 14, had piano lessons. Sam started lessons before he started school. So he saw himself as preparing us. He made sure all of us who wanted an education got it. Everybody who wanted to go to college went to college. And even those who wanted to pursue other degrees, like my brother Robert, he encouraged and helped and even financed that. So he made sure that we were being trained to pursue the ministry. He didn't force it on us, but he made sure we had the background so that when the time came, we would be well prepared. And he sent me to seminary. I didn't want to go. I really didn't. He said he wanted me to go, and I was fighting. I had planned to come home and start my teaching career. And Mother sat me down and said, if your father is willing to spend the money and invest in you to go to seminary, the least you could do in respect to him is take it and go. You do what you want after that, you know. And so I ended up going to seminary.
I don't know whether I could really answer that, but I do feel that we don't put enough emphasis on kids, on our children. I notice at our church, sometimes I walk around, all of them got these little games. You know, nobody's listening to what's going on in service. Nobody even has a part. We always had to sit on the front. We always had to pay attention to what was going on. And from a little child, it grew up that we wanted to. You know, it had been instilled in us that we wanted to take part. I remember 10 years old being in debates. You know, they made us debate. They'd give us assignments. Which came first, the egg or the chicken? And we'd had to develop it. You know, and we'd had to practice. They spent a lot of time. We had programs every year, Christmas and Easter, Pentecost. We had to do recitations and speeches. We had to write prayers and have them okayed before we could give them, you know. They took a lot of time with children. A lot of time was spent with children.
I'm Father Joe Green. I'm retired Episcopal priest, and I knew your grandfather, Reverend.Williams. What a giant of a man. When I came to Norfolk 52 years ago, I met him and got to know him for the whole time that he lived, and I was here when he passed away. It was a joy to know him, because when he first met me, and he knew I was an Episcopal priest, and I'd come to take the responsibility of pastoring Grace Episcopal Church. He said, when I was a child, I grew up going to an Episcopal Sunday school. So we had backgrounds which were similar, and he said it with great pride. And being an Episcopalian, I received it with great pride, because I admired Reverend.Williams. He was a giant in this community. The civil rights movement was big when I came here. Jumped right into it. The first thing I did was, once I got here, was to join with a group of clergy and go down in front of the federal building. And that was the place for protest, and people asked, why was it there? It was a place, we said, that represented our nation, our country, at that federal building. It's now, it was the post office and the courts building. It's just the courts building now. But getting in front of that courthouse and protesting what we thought were the things wrong with our city. The first thing that we protested, and all the clergy got involved in this and supported each other, even those who may not have been there physically with their pictures. They got the support from all the churches, and that is the YMCA. It's called a blocker today. And I was a group of young boys there the other day who had come to play, and it was a day off from school, and I wanted to tell them that story. I said, here they just come in as if nothing happened. But when we went down to that courthouse, and that was the first thing to me we protested, was the YMCA. It was segregated, and it was not open to us. Yet it had all the advantages of a YMCA. It had a swimming pool. It had the recreational facilities. It had it all, but it was not open to us. And that was our first protest, because we thought the word Christian in an institution to symbolize that they were open to all Christians. And that was one of our earlier fights, part of the civil rights movement, but we wanted everything to be open. That was one thing we targeted and had success in.